Tell us about yourself, where you're from, and
Glen from Campbell Hall, New York.
how long have you been in the car wash business?
Oh, my grandfather started in 1969, so
you're third generation car wash.
yep, been a little while.
So how many cars do you think you've washed in your career? Any idea?
Oh, I have no idea. I
right.
have no idea.
How many car washes you've been involved in?
I don't even know that either.
Okay, so dozens and dozens, right?
Oh, yes. So Splash now has 60.
Second store?
Second store, yep.
Okay.
And next month will be 63, and 2 months after that will be 64. So.
Okay, so you're involved in at least 60, 80 car washes your whole career?
Right.
All right, and we were talking about one of your washes specific. You use Petit 360T in your tunnels?
Yes, every one. Every build we do. Yes.
Okay. And since you've been doing this for so long, why do you do that?
Number one, you don't have to have somebody prepping cars.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, bugs off the front, rear of the vehicles are the hardest to clean, and you do it.
Yep.
Hands down. You just kill it every time.
Yep.
So we do a little bug prep on the front and the back, let the chemistry sit on there for 20, 30 feet, and your machine does the rest. End of story.
That's it. And for those who want to use it for an automated prep, that's the key. Let in its well for 20, 30 feet. If you really want to get the most out of automated prep, that's more in line with longer tunnels. If you have a really short tunnel, that might not work out for you. Some people also put it in the middle of the tunnel as well, where you get that dwell time, but this obviously worked really well for you.
Yes, and we have some shorter tunnels. Our one in Tarrytown's 100 foot long.
Okay.
It sits in, I think, 22 feet. We run a couple top brushes over it first, just to block the mist, but it works just as good.
In a 100-foot tunnel.
In a 100-foot tunnel.
Fantastic. Now, we were doing some math earlier. We happened to meet at breakfast, unintentional, and your one tunnel averaged about 400,000 cars a year. You had it over 5 years, so you have about 2 million about 2 million washes on that one machine.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep, and it's awesome. Still works today, just like the video shows.
Okay.
So it's still killing it.
Fantastic. Hello team, Editing Jason here. It's been a couple months since we shot this video, and I'm finally getting around to editing it. And in the meantime, Glenn sent in his machine to get refurbished. Now he was clear, it's working just fine. However, at this location he's talking about, for most of it, this was the first machine they put in. They've averaged, well, now they're doing about 400,000 cars a year, and the machine actually has the number above, which is 2.8 million cars on the machine. He says working fine, but because our volume is so high and we buy a new one for every location we build, let's put a new one here, refurb this, and send a refurbed one to one of the new sites. So 2.8 million cars, and I know I beat the dead horses. This is the same as an in-bay machine. Some may say, well, in-bay has more passes. Okay, then maybe cut it in half, because a lot of people are using 4 passes or even 6 passes. You're still looking over 1 million cars, or 800,000, no matter how you cut it up. But this machine has 2.8 million cars. It's really important to understand how robust this is. And in addition to that, we've made updates. So the rod ends, which some of the really high volume tunnels will know, that's something you check every so often, because that is the wear item on the machine. Finally, after working with the supplier for so long, Tom is always trying to get better components from everybody, and they finally came out with a better component. It's a significant percentage wider, tougher, and that's going to even last longer. So even a machine with 2.8 million cars, we're finding ways to upgrade it. You'll notice some of the motors are the original, and the other cool thing about this is they didn't have to replace the railing. So they just took the whole machine that you see pictured here, and again, same machine as in the in-bay. They took it off the bridge, popped a new machine on. So I was told they had the old one out, the new one on, and hooked up within 2 or 3 hours. So they washed 800, 1,200, whatever cars. They shut down. They put the new machine on top of the railing, and they were ready to go the next morning. So it was a pretty cool process. In some of these pictures, you'll also notice they grinded some slots in there. That's not necessary. In fact, that probably ruined these stainless channels here. So one, your in-base probably won't run into it unless you're doing 300,000+ cars, and you might run into it. We sell a roll-lock disc, basically put on a 90-degree grinder, and you can resurface when it gets smooth, the surface there, so those tires grip. Obviously, those tires are rebuildable. They're non-pneumatic, so everything's really easy. You're not going to run into a smooth surface for quite a while. Some of the high-volume tunnels will, and there's a really easy kit to resurface that. Also, kind of like a plane. Remember, Tom's background is a corporate pilot as well as an aerospace engineer. And some people notice the machine flexes. Well, planes flex and they travel tens of millions of miles. And that's how this machine is designed for infinite life. So when it comes to the railing and all the stainless, all the core components, there's a reason it's expensive up front, but it's also extremely inexpensive to repair, very easy to repair, and even refurbishing it is much cheaper than most would realize, because the upfront cost with the 2 pumps and the stainless is one reason the equipment is more money up front. However, the performance, throughput, and reliability, again, we blow everybody out of the water at this point in time, and it's just infinite life for the structure. That's what is spec'd to by engineering standards. Another quick thing, you'll notice the junction boxes. This is a lot of stuff we don't say in all our videos, and we probably should. The junction boxes, if you look around those, they're not cracked. And same with old M-bays. This machine is probably 7, 8 years old. We have machines 10, 12 years old, maybe 13 years old. The junction boxes are fiberglass reinforced and they're chemically different. So you go into a car wash machine that's a couple of years old, you'll notice the chemicals dry out around the screw holes there and they start to crack. Ours don't do that. We also put a heating element in the junction boxes, so they're always 7 to 10 degrees above ambient temperature at all time. The motors, we have a special way we trickle charge basically the motors, so they're always 7 to 10 degrees above ambient at all times, and this prevents any condensation from happening, as well as we vent and tube the junction boxes and the motors in a very special way where the little bit of breathing it does have to do, it's using the tubing, the more mass inside the tubing to do that. So there's a lot of little tricks we do that people don't realize that cost a little bit more money, cost a little bit more time, but that's how you get a machine like this that can do 2.8 million cars, no problem, running just fine. And again, you could get in-bays that will never pretty much wear out. I just want to share that with you guys, and back to the guys.
Okay, what most don't realize is the in-bay machine is the exact same machine as the tunnel machine. I wish more people would realize that because they don't. It's the exact. Everything's the same. It's just the railing's a different length, but the machine itself is the same.
Right.
So we're doing 10, 20 years of R&D in 1 year with tunnels like yours.
Yeah.
You know. So you've been washing cars since you were young, right?
Our Walden car wash, we lived above it.
Okay.
So I've been young, 10 years old. I was the thumb gun guy, only passenger side then.
Okay.
I remember being 12, 13 years old. That was the POS system, which was the little apron with your bills on one side and coin on the other side. But, yes. I wish we had a Petit machine back then.
No kidding.
But
no kidding.
It was my dad was always big into auto prepping when we did our one in Montgomery.
Okay.
Kind of started with I think like everybody does it, put a couple Omni blasters in it.
Uh-huh.
It does a job, but it doesn't put on a show. It doesn't get the back.
Doesn't get the front.
Doesn't get the front.
Yeah.
You know, you put water on it, but with no velocity, with no pressure, with no really clean down.
Yeah.
And there's no show. The Petit machine puts on a show. When you're going through the front of your car, people are on their phones, and you can watch when they're going through the car. They look up for a second, they hear that, and then it runs down the side. Our Terrytown location has like a brewery effect where you can watch that whole machine through glass. And when people come there, they just stare at that thing like, oh, that's how it works, you know?
Awesome.
So one of the cooler locations to go to.
Fantastic. And now, how is the company, with all your experience, you probably talked to just about every company and used about every piece of equipment under the sun, I would assume.
Just quite a few.
Yeah, so how's your experience been with Petit, working with them yourself?
Every part of it is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Working like guys like you and James and even Tom himself. There's times I've called tech support.
Yeah.
And Tom's picked up the phone. He's like, hey, Tom. And I'm like, Tom Pettit? And he's like, yeah, you know, what can I do for you, Glenn? You know, and we start talking about everything under the sun. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And the funniest part, 99% of the time, it's some glitch that you guys already, it's just this. You didn't do this or this.
Yep.
Boom, boom. And we're off to the races running.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
I can't say enough great about you guys. You've been awesome for us since day one.
Fantastic.
I don't know how many machines we've acquired from you guys now.
You know, well, we appreciate it. And one thing is important. The reason I wanted you here is because of your experience. You know, there's a lot of options out there, and people, they're going to pay more for our machine.
I don't think there's more options. There's only one option for high pressure.
For high pressure, but
there's a Petit machine.
Yeah, equivalent to what we're doing. You're right. But a lot of others say they're doing something similar. They're not quite doing the same. That's true, but they say they are. And we have the option out there. And again, people have to pay a little bit more for it, but obviously you see the value in it.
You're paid for it again, and getting away with labor or having labor only be able to have to do one thing. At the show, we're talking about some other ways just to do a little bug prep that the employee doesn't have to do it.
Yep.
This way, they're just pulling them in, and our employees are concentrating on customer service at the kiosk, talking to somebody, selling them membership, selling a towel program, letting the equipment do what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
And that is the biggest benefit to us.
Yes. And that is when most don't realize a business. I'm glad you're saying that. Whenever you can simplify a business or automate any part of the business, everything gets easier to do. Oh. And humans, we love humans, but they're variables. You never know exactly what you're going to get, even if you train well.
And the turnover rate is so much higher now with employees. So now you don't have to train them as knowledgeable on equipment or how to wash a wheel well out, or look for this or look for that. Hey, there's bugs. There's a bird.
Yep.
You got to spray with a bug cleaner and prep it off. Now you don't have to.
Yep.
Everything is automated. It does it for you.
Yep.
Auto rolls by itself. It's going to prep it by itself.
Yep.
Win-win.
Yep. Fantastic. Well, I think that's all I have for now. We were just both talking how we're going to think of everything after we turn the cameras off, but that's the way it goes. Glenn?
I'll be back around.
Awesome. All right. That sounds good. Thank you.